FBI Director Kash Patel facing intense scrutiny. He has appeared before a Senate Oversight Committee where he is responding to tough questions from the U.S. lawmakers over the Charlie Kirk murder investigation and his overall tenure as the FBI Director. Kash Patel took the FBI top job with strong support from President Trump, but just months into his tenure, he is already facing lawsuits, internal turmoil, and also questions about his leadership. Criticism intensified after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Patel was at a New York restaurant on the day of the shooting and posted on X that a suspect was in custody, only to walk back on it 90 minutes later. FBI, in fact, nabbed Kirk's killer 33 hours after the shooting. Some reports saying knives are out against the FBI chief. There have been some high-level departures inside the bureau, and this week itself, Patel moved to create a new co-deputy director role. It is now filled by former Missouri Attorney General, who will be serving alongside deputy director. All right, let's cut straight across now to what's happening as a part of that hearing.
But I'm not going to weigh into the creation of legislation.
Could you also look at, and I favor just assault weapon ban, not getting these guns in the hands of people that shouldn't have them. But could you look at the numbers on the ages?
Yes.
Because from 18, even going from 18 to 21, which wouldn't have prevented the shooter in Annunciation Church from purchasing that gun. He purchased several the same day. Over 100 rounds were fired from the assault weapon through the stained glass windows. So if you went up to 25, it would have stopped that immediate purchase and probably saved the lives of these kids. But if you go to 21, that is the same age that already applies to purchasing handguns from federally licensed dealers. So I prefer another approach, but I was hoping that our Republican colleagues would at least look at that, given Uvalde, Buffalo, and some of these other mass shootings, trying to be practical, but thinking that it could make a major difference. Strengthening background checks, could you also look at that? And then banning ghost guns and bump stocks. What do you think of that?
So, Senator, you're talking to my heart here on one of the core missions at the FBI, which is our CJIS facility in Winchester, Virginia, which is our hub for our NICS checks, our NCICs, our capabilities on when we have, I think it's 19,000 state and local community law enforcement come to us for these background checks. We're trying to make that processing as fast as we can so we can get them real-time information. I think we have a 93% clearance rate in 15 minutes as it relates to ghost guns, but we can do better.
All right, well, just if you could get back to me on all those and talk to the White House. Threats against elected officials have increased exponentially. Members of Congress received more than 9,000 threats last year, up from 1,600 in 2016. There's been a lot of talk about the rhetoric and the like. And if we want to move forward on things like Section 230, or even look if we can do anything on guns, I do think we're going to have to be honest about this all-purpose hater issue, and it has bothered me, this thing, we're going to go after this group, we're going to have to go after this group. I just want to, for the record, show that the murderer of Speaker Hortman and her husband, he was Democratic lawmakers on his list. He went to the ones whose addresses he had, by the way. Planned Parenthood was on the list, as were businesses and law firms. Doctors. I already mentioned the ones with the Catholic Church shooting. So it is not just as the radicals on the left, what's a quote from the president, are the problems or destructive movement of left-wing extremism that Vice President Vance said. According to the Anti-Defamation League last year, all the murders were committed. And I'm not actually going to say this because I don't even want to go left-right with this, but you can imagine it wasn't from the left. Cato Institute, conservative think tank, published a study just last week that found terrorists from the right were responsible for 6 times more deaths than people from the left. I actually don't want to go tit for tat on this, but what I am asking for is that this rhetoric of blaming one side or the other stop. If you could convey that to the president, and that we actually work on things that are solutions. So could you commit to me, Mr. Patel, Director Patel, that you will do that?
Absolutely, Senator.
Okay, thank you. Last, you were asked about social media, and I will put some more questions on the record about that. I think we could make major movement on that. The local FBI helped when the city of St. Paul was a victim of a cyber attack. And I'm concerned about some of the cyber attack cuts. I'll ask you that on the record. AI, I'm glad you raised that. I think we have to do more, but also including election interference because they're using AI videos. I just had one happen in this very committee on me, and I just think they're going to start using it in democracy, election. They could be foreign. Do you think some of this is foreign entities, Mr. Patel?
Generally speaking, we have traced a lot of this to loose groups overseas that don't have any sort of central cluster.
There's going to be a lot on you then. And then last, I'll put on the record just my concern about protecting journalists. The new guidance that came out of the department. Have you deployed any FBI resources to investigate members of the media for activities related to news gathering, reporting, or reporting on government whistleblowers, something near and dear to the chairman's heart?
The only time we would involve an investigation of a journalist if they've conducted or committed an allegation of separate criminal activity, most prominently leaks of classified information.
Thank you.
Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, good to see you. Thank you for being here. You're leading the FBI at a very critical time for that agency and also a critical time for our country. And I want to start by talking to you about the tide of violence that we have seen, ideological violence against people of faith, particularly Christians. You just think here, take a rough catalog. Just in the last couple of years, we've seen shooting at the Covenant School, Christian school in Nashville. We've seen school shooting at the Annunciation School. We've seen church shootings multiply. We've seen acts of crime and violence, vandalism, arson against churches and parishes all across the country. And then, of course, last week, Charlie Kirk, who said, "I want to be remembered for my courage, for my faith," was shot on a college campus. Let me just start with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Is the FBI, and I appreciate the tremendous work the FBI has done in this investigation, is the FBI investigating the Kirk assassination as part of this broader pattern of anti-religious, anti-Christian violence?
We are investigating Charlie's assassination fully and completely and running out every lead related to any allegation of broader violence, and we're producing results on that we'll disclose when appropriate.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Let me just ask you a few questions about that if I could. Sure. Reports have suggested that the FBI is investigating a broader network of groups that may have had some knowledge of the shooter's plans. Can you give us any details on that, following up what you already said in public? How's the FBI working to find other potential accomplices, folks who may have known about the shooter's plans, folks who may have encouraged him? Any update on any of that?
So in terms of what we do for an interrogation perspective, we go and reach out to the family and community immediately. And we've conducted those investigations and interrogations with local law enforcement, and we're continuing to do that because those closest to the suspect are going to hopefully know the most about the suspect and his beliefs and his ideology. On top of that, unfortunately, it has been leaked that there was a Discord chat, and for those unfamiliar with it, it's a gaming chat room online that the suspect participated in. So what we're doing, we've already done, is serve legal process, not just on Discord, so that the information we gathered is sustained and held in a evidentiary posture that we could use in prosecution should it be decided to do so. And we're also going to be investigating anyone and everyone involved in that Discord chat.
Okay, very good. I see the public reports that the Discord thread had as many.
All right, let's go straight across now to our correspondent, Susan Tehrani, who's been tracking those developments very closely. Susan, we will, of course, keep a close eye on what unfolds during what we saw as just a small segment of. But, just contextualize for our viewers how significant what we are seeing unfolding right now really is coming at a time like this.
Yeah, very significant indeed. And I think one of the significance is, despite the fact that usually hearings like this, and this hearing was scheduled from beforehand, this is an annual hearing, they get very fiery, notably from the opposing party. I think that lawmakers, and part of it is because they've been receiving threats themselves and they understand the sensitivity of the climate that we're in right now, they're being very cordial when they're talking to Kash Patel, notably from the Democratic Party. And despite the rumors that we've been hearing that perhaps Kash Patel will be sidelined ultimately at the FBI and he may be replaced by an individual named Andrew Bailey, as you mentioned, the president, the White House, and Republicans in the Senate are not really conveying that message. It seems like they are backing Kash Patel, at least for the time being. But nonetheless, this is a sensitive situation, not just because of the way many believe the FBI handled or mishandled the controversy around the Epstein files, but also how Kash Patel was premature giving information to the public regarding the assassin of Charlie Kirk before he was captured and whatnot. So is he in the right place at the right time? Is he the right person to lead the FBI? These are all questions that are hovering over his head as he's trying to answer these questions during this testimony. But I did find it significant, as you mentioned as well, that it appears that the level and the tone is a lot lower than perhaps other hearings that we see that are very fiery and they're looking for, sort of sound bites on social media and whatnot. But it's just the beginning. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's see what happens during this hearing. And if we're going to hear any more new information from the FBI director himself.
Indeed, no dearth of speculation out there, but of course we are going to be sticking to what is unfolding right now and what remains to be seen as a part of that. Leaving it there for the moment. Susan, thanks very much. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.